y'all, welcome back.
Hey, welcome back to Inspiration Education. Yes, we are laying on the floor.
That's right.
Been a day at school.
And this seemed like the perfect place to talk about our senior attitude leadership training that we have at our school. We call it SALT.
Yes. And so this episode is about SALT 2021, and the big portion of that is the hike down Mount Lemmon, which is our local mountain here in Tucson, Arizona. It's a 17-mile hike down.
It has one small section, about 1.5 miles, where it's up and gets your cardio going, get to use different muscle groups, but pretty much the day is a day of being hard on your knees and on your toes.
But there's so much more.
Oh, my goodness.
How long did it take before you were able to walk again?
Oh, I was pretty good. The next day wasn't too bad, but the second day after, I was pretty sore. I was walking like an old man. Yeah. Sorry, all old men out there. No
I
offense,
was
but...
shuffling for 3 days straight.
Okay, so was I. I was shuffling.
Teach your kids to love to learn, and they will learn to love to live in a world where there's so much to learn through inspiration education.
So, why? Why do we
take our kids on a by the way, when I say kids, it's seniors. We take the entire senior body on a 17-mile hike down the mountain. Why do we do that?
And it's part of their curriculum. This is actually a school day that we take a bunch of their teachers and we hike down the mountain. So what's the purpose of that? A lot of it has to do with building relationships with them. You learn from the company you keep. So us as their mentors, the people who are speaking into their lives, we've built relationship with them. And so this is just a day in which you're really stretching your body to do a really hard thing. And actually, in many ways...
Whereas the attitude comes in, senior attitude, leadership training.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even just about the physical rigor, it's more the mental rigor.
I think it's more mental than anything else. And so we, this is, how many years have we been doing this now, Desert?
21.
Okay, so 21 years, this has been a tradition at Desert. And, but we want to add, I've been just reading, so she just finished this book, well, not just, but recently finished this book called Mind Shift, right here.
Yep.
And so she had me read it, and I've just finished chapter 1. And the book is about having a mind shift, changing the paradigm of teaching, if you will. And
shifting the paradigm of a particular school. Like every school has a story. And at a certain point, they realize in their story that there's a villain in their story. And they're like, we want to do something about it. And so every school's villain in their story is different. So when the teachers and the administration comes together to work on that, it's called, they go through a mind shift. So I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's, I'm glad here you hold it now. Okay. My arm's gonna die. Oh God. Okay, so chapter number 1 of this book is called From Machine to Human. And so perhaps this is the villain that you see in your school then, right? Is
Could
that
be.
Perhaps your education system, or maybe at your school or at your district or whatever, has adopted the paradigm of education that basically spits students out like they're widgets on an assembly line.
Right. Yeah. The Western education has basically become a transactional machine.
Exactly.
Yeah, for the sake of efficiency. Like just even think about grades. Oftentimes we do them not to communicate, but to compensate.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, you have that grade and it's like supposed to be this check in the block that you've learned something, whereas maybe you haven't. Yeah. And so we seek to change that. And this book is a part of, helps you to sort of understand that villain, if you will. Yeah. And it's asking us to change that mindset from seeing the education at your school as a transactional process, as a machine, to something that's more humanized. Yeah. And I feel like I see us doing that in this SALT hike.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one of the authors, Rex Miller, there's another book he wrote called Humanizing the Education Machine. And so that I would also recommend reading that book. But that it talks about this very thing. And I want to say that at our school, one of our distinctives from our early genesis was that relationships matter. And the salt hike is just one dimension, one distinctive of how relationships matter.
Right. Page 32 in the book, you can see it's all marked up. But page 32 in the book, one of the things, if we're going to attempt to move to more of humanizing your education, of course, this is a faith-based book, but you can totally apply this in your own way. But is that we, again, faith-based, but we should instead better understand the ultimate purposes of life, number one, to become more Christ-like, number two, and to live into the Christ story of love throughout your entire lives. And you can take that into a different, more secular perspective.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be necessarily about following and learning more about Christ, but it could be more about like being communicators and collaborators rather than being transactional.
Yeah. I'm you guys may or may not have picked up that I'm in a doctoral program right now. And I've found that my cohort mates, we are all like-minded. We may not all be faith-based, but we're all 100% like-minded in the value of humanity and knowing and helping humans to know their value and to understand their humanity is a common goal that we all have. And this came up in a discussion she and I were having earlier today, that we want to invite students into a co-construction of the learning process, whether you're doing social studies or science or whatever it is, it's co-constructivist. But if you don't have a relationship, if you haven't invited them into walking hard things with them and into relationship, it's hard to teach from that model. So
well, and another thing that this book talks about, at least in chapter 1, is that education has become so streamlined, and you're not supposed to waste time, and we have to teach to this test. And taking a fourth of your student body on a 17-mile hike is not what Western civilization would consider to be efficient, right? In terms of learning. Yeah. And yet, so much learning took place in terms of, just think about the relationships that have been developed on that trip. You know, you have students that struggle. 17 miles is no joke.
Yeah, moving at the speed of community is for some people the hardest thing on the planet.
Sometimes you really come up with little nuggets.
Well, we briefed them in advance. We said for many of you, the fact that you will be required to move at the speed of community will take every ounce of your mental effort to process.
Well, and also thinking about, a week later, even a year, 10 years later, and you think about, hey, I led that group and I didn't think about the people behind me. Those are life lessons that we learn, and that's what you want your students to be learning. These are life skills. These are how to be a part and a contributing member of society.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like I had conversation, I'm not the science teacher, but like, Mrs. Thomas, what is that plant? Oh, that's manzanita. Does manzanita grow this far down? And can I plant that in my own backyard?
And then they asked me later.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Students like, well, that manzanita branch looks like red velvet cake. Things like that they are learning while also going through a physical and a mental and a spiritual challenge.
Yeah. And let me bring up something else that I've been reading recently, is this idea of harmonious passion, where teachers they become better teachers because and more intimately involved about the passion of their craft of teaching when they spend time with kids outside of the classroom.
Oh my gosh, so true.
Yeah, so there is a psychological proof that when we get intimately involved in understanding the lives of the kids and knowing them and spending time with them, it makes us better teachers. Harmonious passion, look it up.
That relationship, building that trust relationship, makes the learning in the classroom more fun.
Yep.
It's more concrete, you know, you can just, it's more palpable. It's just everything. It's just so much better.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've done enough talking. We can't wait for you to see this footage. There's just some snippets of us going down the hill, and we'll see you back here in just one quick second. Salt Hike 2021. Woo-hoo! We started out in the snow. It was like 30, I don't know, 30 something degrees, maybe a little colder this morning, top of Mount Lemmon, Palisades Trail.
Hi. Hello. She's like, throwback to the...
What's up? Yo.
Hi.
How you guys feel about the hike?
The hike's great. The hike's pretty good.
Here you go, Chan. Here you go.
We're chilling. Feels like that we're almost done with it for some reason. Like we're about to come to an end here. But in reality, we're just starting, and it's like
I think we've been on the trail like an hour.
7:30 in the morning, and we'll be out here until like 5.
You're gonna be like the star of this episode.
Oh yeah. Inspiration, education, baby. Woo! Oh.
Oh, what up, guys? We are on our salt hike.
Salt Hike 2021.
First stop. We got a really nice view. The sun is just coming up.
How's them little feeties?
That's good.
They hurt?
A little bit.
Got a space full of tree branch. Yep. You got full of thunder tree. Nice.
What's up, interwebs?
Interwebs.
What's up? It's your boy.
Hey, what's Mr. Phillips been telling you about in terms of the salt hike?
Physically, it's gonna be easy, but mentally, it was gonna mess with you.
What are you supposed to do about the physical or the mental part of it? You said it was gonna be hard mentally?
Yes. Basically, what Phillips taught us is we got this thing called idiot lights. And
idiot lights on the dashboard of life.
yup,
Go, I love this.
idiot lights. Anger is one of your idiot lights, and so that's basically saying, hey, something's wrong. And so, just gotta figure out what's wrong and solve the problem.
What are you supposed to have learned about if one of those idiot lights comes on? Did he talk about goals versus desires?
We did. About how a goal is something that you want but you necessarily can't control, and a desire is something that you can control.
Opposite. Desire you cannot control.
Yeah, desire you cannot control. Goal, right.
So, if you find yourself getting angry,
it means I'm turning one of my desires
into a goal.
And so you don't want to do that.
You got it. Hi.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm doing good. My toes really hurt, and my right knee sucks.
Can you hold it? I didn't even know you were doing that.
Are you journaling?
Maybe.
About the trip?
Maybe.
Maybe? You're not going to tell you all your secrets? How about your dirty laundry? Will you tell about your dirty laundry?
Of course.
Yes! What are you going to journal? Keep coming. Keep coming. Oh boy! Oh my back!
I don't think I can make it. Y'all just go on.
Get out of here!
You making it?
Oh yeah!
Woo!
I'd like to thank my mom for
You gotta keep your
giving me my Sunder's size and
Oh, look who it is. Welcome to Asian class.
yeah. Thanks, mom.
Can I have that fan? Here.
Are we?
There we go. Oh.
Relax.
Are you serious right now?
I'm feeling great.
Take my mom in there.
Excuse me.
Bougie.
How you feeling, fun size?
Winded.
Yeah. It feels good to have my lungs burn and not my toes burn.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Going
the changing
uphill?
the muscle groups is
It
good.
feels good. Hello, hello. Oh, awesome. We are on our fourth stop, and Unu fell and hurt his knee and hand and other hand.
And this one is fine now.
I'm okay. My ankles can hurt.
Yeah, after.
Look at his smiley face.
Hey, Jesse.
What's up, baby? How you do? We out here in Assault Hike 2021. We getting our senior attitude and leadership training on. We just giving a few rocks, if you know what I'm saying. Having us a good time.
We want to say hi again.
Hi again. 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. Oh, spider!
Hey, wait. Why are you videoing?
It's all about putting the next step forward.
That's it, one at a time. Whew. My dogs are barking. Trail of like high schoolers. You can't put your shoes back on.
You know what, Miss Thomas?
Hey, you got.
Michael, and he ripped off his shorts there.
Rash. My like bird rash, whatever is happening.
Oh, that's like sunburn / backpack. That's really heavy.
I am hungry again. What's my problem?
Your problem is you're old.
Could be. My metabolism has changed completely yet again.
Okay.
It's annoying.
Salt Hike 2021.
What is it, Matt?
So worth every 17 miles
Every single step.
for all of these beautiful young men and women.
They participate.
Well, you're
I mean,
not
this beautiful guy right here.
really young anymore,
Last shot. This has to be the last shot.
but
There we go.
I am mentally fine, but physically I am exhausted.
how you feeling?
I feel great, actually.
Feeling great. Later, coffee. Okay, so welcome back. You for sure saw a lot of moments of laughter. It was so much fun.
There were tears.
There were tears, although we don't record that because no one wants to see that. No one wants to be recorded in those moments. But they were, right? And I mean, that's about, those are those personal, like individual developmental changes that happen in people's lives, but also those relational ones where you are leaning on other people and you're learning how to work in those ways. That, I mean, when our kids graduate, they're going to be working in teams in big corporations or maybe they'll go to the military or wherever they're going to go. You're going to be working with people who are not like you.
That's right.
And you have to learn how to do that.
Absolutely.
And so why not start on a 17-mile hike down a mountain?
So perhaps maybe so what's the lesson for you? What's the challenge for you today? So maybe think about maybe your school can't do a 17-mile hike with kids.
Right.
But what would it look like for you to get to know your kids? And and that is the challenge that I would put forth to you, that in order to appreciate and know what they can bring to the table into your classroom, to make it more student-centered, you've got to know them. Yeah. So it might mean sitting down to have lunch with them. I do know of public school teachers who are now making it a point where they go to the kids' homes. They want to know the kid's story because they want to know what the funds of knowledge that kid brings to the table, what capital they bring.
Right.
And to actually have a student-centered classroom, you need to know your kids. So maybe you don't get to hike with them, but you can sit down and have coffee with them.
You for sure can. You can sit down outside with your kids. You can go to their sports games and watch them win a game or watch them lose a game.
Yeah.
And talk about
them with it
those
afterwards.
life experiences.
Yeah. And then you'll have a richer, deeper classroom because of it.
For sure.
Yeah. And if you have little guys, that's a little trickier, right? But that could mean even Zooming with the family and having insight into, hey, so what do you value in your family? What's your family story? And so just understanding who they are and what what makes that little special in your classroom might come through a glimpse of talking to the parents.
Yep.
So
definitely not a book plug here, but if you can, it's super thin. Sorry, I have a really big bookmark in there, but it's a really thin book, and there's a lot of information that can be gleaned from it, whether you're faith-based or not. But chapter number 1, we just saw the SALT trip in chapter number 1, to try to de-machine the education system. And of course, if you are a teacher, you're not going to be able to make great big changes probably within your administration, but you certainly have control over your classroom. And if you can take strides and no longer treat your students like widgets, you know,
bring them back to being human.
Yes,
right?
Because if we put them all on the same assembly line, you're going to have some failed parts.
Yep.
Because not every widget, not every student is created. They're not widgets. They're not created the same.
That's right. They're all unique. They all bring something to the table.
Yeah.
Really well said.
Sometimes I have a nugget.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
See you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.